All right, a special request from the comments section. Today we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Universe 2.0 Onslaught. Now, right off the bat, I do want to say that mine is not entirely complete. The original figure came with a big sort of like riot shield that would peg onto the top in vehicle mode, and then he could obviously put on his arm in robot mode. I just got this guy on eBay a while ago, and it didn't come with that, which I was honestly kind of fine with because what is the point of having like a huge riot shield on the back of an APC in vehicle mode? I just thought it looked kind of silly. But yeah, so that doesn't really bother me that I don't have it, but worth mentioning. Also, for whatever reason, mine didn't come with the like missiles that were in here, and it's not like, oh, they're like spring-loaded missiles that are easy to lose. They're like permanently attached. They were clear plastic that worked with like the light and sound feature, and they just weren't there. So I ended up, when I was a kid, I ended up replacing those with just a few extra missiles that I had lying around, which I believe originally belonged to Universe Triceradon, the Gildart repaint Triceratops. So those are kind of glued in there, and then because I wasn't really experienced with it at the time, the glue joint is a little bit ugly there, but otherwise, it's all pretty much the same figure. Also, I've never really tried doing the lights and sound thing. I've seen how that looks on other reviews, and I'm really not a huge fan of lights and sounds on my figures personally, so I've never really given it a go. But yeah, how it was supposed to work is you've got a little button on top here, which infamously has like a little siren sound effect that they forgot to loop. So when you click it, it just goes like, which is kind of dumb. But also the more annoying thing I thought was that it's got, which is kind of neat in terms of the mechanism, but this one wheel out of the six has like a rubber lined outside, and then it's a little bit stiffer than the other ones, and what you're supposed to do is be able to like push it down and roll it along, which honestly I've never really been able to get it to do. But and it makes like an engine idling sound effect, which I would always thought sounded kind of annoying. So, I've never done the lights and sounds feature, but that's how it's supposed to work. Obviously, the little light bar here would light up, and it was supposed to also light up the missiles when they were actually clear plastic missiles. But otherwise, I just think it's a nice, cool looking APC mode here. This was an ultra class figure for the time, which is kind of equivalent to leaders of today, but it's a little bit, because size classes have gotten a little bit smaller throughout the years, it's a little bit smaller or a little bit larger than a modern day leader. And then obviously, it also had lights and sounds and stuff like that, but still a pretty cool figure for the functionality of it that I do have. I love the APC mode. I just think it's a nice, like, neat military vehicle to do for Onslaught, and it actually, I don't know, I feel like it feels like a more realistic vehicle than some of the things we've gotten for Onslaught more recently, which is nice. But yeah, no, pretty good mode. Rolls okay, despite the fact that that middle wheel there won't really roll, but it mostly stays off the ground, so it works. The turret here can rotate. It does have wires running through it, so it can't actually rotate a full 360 degrees, but you get about that far. You've got the little like cow catcher here thing that you can actually like fold down, which is pretty cool. The little headlights here can kind of swivel back and forth, and you can open the actual like hatch to get in. It's a little bit annoying in this mode because it pegs in fairly securely, but it is openable. Obviously, you just look in there and you see the back of his head, but still, it's cool that it has that bit of functionality, which I appreciate. In terms of comparisons in this mode, just for the standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe. So you can see pretty bulky vehicle. I feel like it actually scales fairly well with like a with modern deluxes there. And then here he is with our more recent Onslaught with the Combiner Wars Onslaught, which is kind of just a thing. It'd be nice to one day get a new version of Onslaught that is actually closer to his original vehicle mode of having like the truck with like the really long bed there to carry blast off. I think that would be cool. I do sort of wonder if they're ever going to do like a new legacy style combiner of the Combaticons. We haven't seen anything on like listings, but maybe in the next few years they'll start that project, because the Stunticons I think turned out fairly well, but I don't think you can really do the exact same strategy that you did with the Stunticons for the other Scramble City combiners, just because like Menasor was kind of the only one that visually looked like he had like a frame with cars just kind of stapled onto it in the cartoon, whereas like Bruticus really did look like his limbs were kind of made out of the the actual, limb formers like it's supposed to be. So I don't know what they would do. Maybe they could do Onslaught as like a leader, and then the other Stunticons as Voyagers, or maybe they'd still do them as a commander class and the other ones as Deluxes. I don't think that would work so well considering what the rest of them turn into. They're all kind of bigger vehicles, but that's just sort of speculation. But either way, that's what they look like together. A much more sort of concrete vehicle, despite being, a big ridiculous military vehicle. Like, this actually exists. This is kind of nothing. Just a slab on wheels with vaguely military sculpting on it. But yeah, to get onto transformation. Just so you don't forget to do it later, I usually just flip down the headlights now, and then you can take this this back panel here, and it'll actually untab, and then you take this part of the back panel and fold it up like that, and then the whole thing will slide forward on this track here. It's on 2 tracks, so it's kind of annoying to get both of them pushed up, but once it's there, it's there. And then you can take these panels here and just fold them out to the side like that, and take this little panel and fold it in. Believe it or not, these are going to be his feet in robot mode. So we just do that. And then you flip it to the underside here. Basically, a few things are kind of latched into place here. This front wheel section is latched in up here, and then this gray section is tabbed in here. Usually it just comes undone, and then the gray section itself kind of sits in a groove right there. So you just want to unlatch that, and then you can bring this whole section down and kind of unclick it like that. This will be one of the legs. Take this gray cage, which is on a hinge and a swivel for some reason. I never really understood why this piece is on a swivel, but whatever. And then you take this one wheel and flip it to the inside, and then bring the cage down to kind of cover it up, and then fold this panel down, which kind of automatically pushes the knee panel out a little bit, and this will be one of his legs. And then, like I said, we'll just do that on both sides here. Kind of unpeg it like that, bring it down, unpeg the cage, rotate the wheel to the inside, peg that in and bring that up like that. And we're definitely going to have to adjust the camera here a bit because he's quite a large lad. All right, then you just take the top section here, and it'll kind of split down the middle, and you bring down the sections like this, and then rotate these sections down to be the arms. And then once you've got that out of the way, then you can take this panel here and kind of fold it up, and then, fold up this whole panel like this, and then take this individual section and fold that in like that. Take the little latch or hatch here and then fold it to the back just to get it out of the way. And then for the arms here, you're supposed to just flip out the hands from the arms like this and call it a day, but that would give him the sort of like gorilla elbows. So, but he does actually have a wrist swivel, so you can actually rotate the arms at the bicep and then rotate them forward. Unfortunately, that does mean that these gaps from where the fists folded out are just like visible on the front of the forearms, but I still generally prefer that to the elbows facing the wrong direction myself. But yeah, there we have Onslaught in his robot mode, and I think he looks great. It's a very cool redesign of Onslaught with like big beefy proportions. He's definitely a bit more of like a bruiser, kind of taking that on that brawl role as well on the team. But yeah, no, it looks very cool. One thing that's always really annoyed me about this figure is that if you actually have him standing up straight, the head is just like peering down. It's just like going straight down. So you kind of have to bring him back at the hips here. You like to actually get it like sitting in the head is level. You sort of bring it back 2 clicks, but then he's got this like dumb looking bend in the body. So I usually just split the difference and kind of bring it back 1 click. So he's still looking down a little bit, but and he's still got that bend a little bit, but I don't know. I think that's kind of the best solution, though it's still kind of not great in either direction. But other than that, I think he looks really cool. And then other than the gaps on the forearms here, but yeah, in terms of articulation, the head is on a swivel, so you can rotate that around. I think that there are wires running through this as well for the light up gimmick, because it does kind of come through his eyes when you do use it. So I don't know if you should really like keep twisting it 360 degrees, but it does go 360 degrees. The shoulders here are on ratchet joints that rotate around like that. Very nice, satisfying ratchets. They can also fold out to the side at that joint. And then you can't really use the transformation joint anymore. It's pretty much locked in place, unfortunately, because it does kind of like, when you fold it up, it kind of springs up as well. Not springs up, but it kind of, automatically shifts up on this post. So it kind of stays locked into the shoulder position there. So it doesn't really, you can't activate it as any sort of butterfly joint, which is fine, but just worth mentioning. He's got a bicep swivel here. about 90 degrees of bend at the elbow, and a wrist swivel, which can also, fold up like that for transformation. You can also kind of adjust the angle of the shoulder pads here. Nothing at the waist. The hips can go forward and back only about that far before they bump into the butt plate there, and then out to the side about that far. Pretty decent range there. It's got a thigh swivel. Pretty deep knee bend actually for having such chunky legs, just because of how it folds up for transformation. And again, nice ratchets there. And then the feet you can kind of just tilt down a little bit, and then they are sort of sculpted a slight angle there for that kind of A stance. So it doesn't actually have any ankle tilt, but he can kind of stand candidly with his legs a little bit spread there, which I appreciate. And then again, in terms of features and stuff like that, he does have this little flip out latch here, which is where the riot shield would plug on if I had it, which again, you do kind of have to have it so his arm is in the gorilla pose to do that, because otherwise it's on the back of his arm, which is a little bit annoying, but whatever. I'm not using the shield, so it doesn't bother me all that much. And then on this side, he does have this little flip out gun here where you can just press that button and then flip out the gun, which is fine being kind of underslung, though it does make a full gap in his forearm there that you can see through to the other side, unfortunately. But otherwise, it's a pretty cool feature there. But yeah, when you did transformation, I'm pretty sure that it would change the sound effects as well. I think it had to do with, oh, look at that. I didn't know the sound effects worked on this guy. I should probably take out those batteries so they're not corroding in there. I didn't even realize that I had the batteries in there, but yeah, you can press that little button to do that. I don't know why the other, oh, look at that. That works too. What? Why didn't that work in vehicle mode? I don't know. But there's the infamous little, nope, that wasn't it. Yeah, that sound effect. Look at that. I didn't know that lights and sounds actually functioned on my copy. I've never tried it before, so that's news to me. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again with Kingdom Sideswipe as I'm knocking Combiner Wars Onslaught onto the floor there, just so you can see what he looks like with an average size deluxe. And here he is with Combiner Wars Onslaught, who took a bit of a tumble there. So you can see, I actually do prefer overall the look of Combiner Wars Onslaught in his robot mode. I think that he is a far better vehicle mode, but I do like the proportions better in the Combiner Wars version, even if he is a bit smaller. And then obviously the huge boon to the Combiner Wars version is that he can actually be a combiner, whereas this is just a standalone figure. But still, I think that they both look pretty good. And then just for an average leader size comparison, here he is with Grimlock from Studio Series. So you can see it's a little bit smaller, just about as beefy, and then obviously has the the lights of sound stuff. So comparable, but I think that he's still got more like overall stuff to him at the end of the day, which is not to say I like him better, because I love this figure, but just to compare him with a modern leader class figure. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. He's a really nice figure. He was my stand-in Onslaught in my collection for a long time, but obviously when we started getting like combiners that actually were doing the combiner thing again, I'm like, well, yeah, I want an Onslaught that does Bruticus, right? Because that's part of the whole point of the Combaticons. So I do prefer the Combiner Wars version overall, but overall I think that he's a better figure. He just doesn't do the combine mode, and his robot mode I don't think looks quite as good, but it is still good. But again, I'd still like to see a new Onslaught that actually is a little bit more accurate to the G1 version in its robot mode or in its vehicle mode, and can still do the combine mode into Bruticus. I think it'd be a cool new thing to see. But either way, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Like I said, this was a request from the comment section, so if you have any figures you want me to do a review of, just leave a comment and I'll let you know if I have it or not. But without further ado, here we have Transformers Universe 2.0 Ultra Class Onslaught. Just wanted to pop back in here and kind of go over the sound effects in vehicle mode, since this is just spontaneously started working after over a literal decade of owning this figure. Of course, that just starts in the middle of the review, which is crazy, but if you push this button on the top here, it can do the gun sound effect if you hold it on, or if you just press it, if you just press it once, it'll just do the sound effect for a little bit. Same with the siren. If you hold it up, it will actually go for longer, whereas if you just press it once, it's just that. or just that. And then the again, I still can't really get to this to activate by pushing down on the wheels, but if you turn the wheels, it does that sound effect, which again, I just think is really annoying. I don't like the sound of that sound effect at all, but at least, you know, this one's a little bit more avoidable, which granted, because this wheel is not really wanting to activate either, like that one's also pretty avoidable. So whatever, but that's how the sound effects work.